One of the most stunning women in the world, Isabella Rossellini is the face of Lancôme, the muse of film, and a woman who radiates sophistication and seductive charm. However, a wild childhood hides behind that brilliant facade. Where she grew up surrounded by a kangaroo hopping wildly around the home, as well as lions and monkeys. The most astounding aspect isn't even that. Her romantic life devolved into a tragedy worse than any screenplay for a movie. Her partner left her after meeting someone else in recovery, bringing a sudden end to their passionate romance. The life of Isabella Rossellini is anything but idyllic. Beauty was never a guarantee on this tumultuous trip. And it never seemed to follow the rules. This is the tale of a wild legend, a lady who pushed the boundaries of time and destiny. Isabella Rossellini, the daughter of renowned actress Ingrid Bergman and renowned filmmaker Roberto Rossellini, was born in Rome, Italy, on June 18, 1952. She was at the center of a glittering world where iconic movies were made thanks to the collaboration of these two titans of cinema. And the spotlight remained bright. But Isabella's childhood was a turbulent whirlwind, devoid of conventional conventions, in stark contrast to her father's intellectual prowess and her mother's gorgeous attractiveness. Isotta Ingrid Rossellini, her twin sister, went on to become an Italian literature professor. In addition, she had a half-sister named Pia Lindström and an older brother named Robertino Ingmar Rossellini. Her mother's former spouse was a television broadcaster. She had 4 half-siblings on her father's side, including Romano Rossellini, who unfortunately died at the age of 9. Unlike a Hollywood princess, Isabella did not have a secluded or perfect upbringing despite coming from a wealthy household. Her father had several spouses and kids, therefore she grew up in a polygamous family, establishing a family dynamic that went against all conventional frameworks. She openly admitted, "My father had multiple wives, and we had 7 siblings," in an interview with David Letterman. Her upbringing became a battlefield of never-ending conflicts as a result of the complicated family structure that frequently caused conflicts and rivalries among the kids. However, the presence of wild creatures in her home was what really made her early years unique. Isabella Rossellini raised lions, monkeys, and even a kangaroo, in contrast to the majority of children who grew up with dogs or cats. Once, as an unusual gift, her father brought home a baby kangaroo, but it proved to be extremely violent, kicking madly and causing mayhem in the house. They were forced to send it to a zoo within 2 days. The Paris zoo still wouldn't accept it, pushing her father to find a better home for the animal by bringing it back to Rome. To the outside world, this was an almost impossible story, but to Isabella, it was just a part of her daily existence. Intense sibling rivalries were another aspect of family life. Isabella suffered a permanent injury when she was hit in the face by a telephone during a furious dispute with her brother, chipping her tooth. These disputes went beyond simple childhood arguments. They were fierce conflicts amongst kids who had grown up in an atmosphere with minimal adult supervision. She had her first experience with significant health issues when she was 5 years old, when she had an appendectomy. Her diagnosis of severe scoliosis at the age of 11, however, was the most difficult time of her life. This was not a typical situation. The malformation required arduous treatment for 18 months. Involving excruciating stretching techniques, complete body casts, and, in the end, a bone graft treatment when bone from her leg was placed into her spine. The deeper sorrow came from the memory of spending countless days in a hospital bed while her contemporaries ran free and enjoyed the childhood she was never able to have, even though the scars from these surgeries would always be visible on her legs and back. Isabella was not alone, though, during those worst moments. To be by her daughter's side, her mother, Ingrid Bergman, placed her entire career on pause. The legendary Hollywood star who had once dominated the film industry voluntarily left the limelight to spend 2 whole years taking care of Isabella, feeding her every meal and keeping watch over her every night. Isabella subsequently confessed, looking back with great passion. "For 2 years, my mother gave up her job to spend every day with me. It was more than a simple act of affection. It served as the cornerstone of her fortitude, the driving force behind her ability to withstand bodily suffering as well as any obstacles that came her way." Isabella had more than just physical wounds, though. She experienced a sexual attack as a youngster, which left her with severe psychological wounds that she hardly ever discussed. Despite the suffering he had caused her, she refused to ruin her attacker's life and kept his name a secret for years. She revealed, "I was a big star in Italy," in an interview with Vulture. "I would destroy his life if I told him who he was." That suffering persisted and followed her throughout her life, continuing to be one of the several unseen hardships that the general public was unaware of. In addition to the psychological and bodily harm, Isabella had to deal with a reality that few could have predicted. Wealth did not equate to fame. Her father was not a commercial filmmaker, even though he was one of the most important directors in movie history. Contrary to popular belief, this indicated that the Rossellini family was not affluent at all. Isabella once stated, "People think fame comes with money, but that's not true," in an interview with the New York Times. "My dad didn't run a movie theater." Throughout her early years, Isabella Rossellini experienced both visible and invisible scars. Even while her physical wounds may have healed over time, the experiences she had were deeply ingrained in her spirit. She learned to turn suffering into power from a girl who was raised surrounded by lions and family strife. To get up and continue along. She was never the spoiled child of a movie star. She was raised as a fighter in a world that constantly put her to the test. Isabella Rossellini left Italy for fresh York at the age of 19, starting a fresh chapter in her life after a turbulent upbringing. This move gave her the chance to forge her own path in addition to providing an escape from the looming shadow of her illustrious parents. Ingrid Bergman, her mother, thought that the secret to future prospects was learning English. In order to improve her language abilities and broaden her professional opportunities, she sent Isabella to Finch College, a prominent private women's university. Isabella, however, was never merely a pupil. She soon found herself engrossed in the lively beat of New York City. She accepted a position as an interpreter and assistant to Johnny Mina, a well-known Italian sports writer who had trouble speaking English, but conducted TV interviews with well-known people from over the world. Isabella was able to enter the entertainment industry on her own terms without depending on her parents' notoriety because to this job. She performed in Italian comedy television shows in the United States during this time and met icons such as Muhammad Ali. Isabella had a steady job in television, but she had never thought about modeling. The profession felt absurd to her and inappropriate for someone who wanted to engage in intellectual pursuits. However, destiny had other ideas. She occurred to be photographed by Bruce Weber during a casual session one day. After that picture was sent to Vogue, an unexpected event occurred. Isabella's brilliant modeling career began when she was featured on the cover of Vogue after just one photo shoot. However, this pivotal moment wasn't totally coincidental. Isabella's close friend Frances Grill has opened a modeling firm called Clique. She sent some of Isabella's photos to fashion magazines and urged her to pursue modeling. Isabella accepted mindlessly because she thought the career was too trivial. However, the outcomes exceeded everyone's expectations. She never would have imagined the opportunity to be on the cover of Vogue after her first published shot. Isabella entered the fashion industry completely by accident, yet she achieved remarkable success, in contrast to many ambitious models who found it difficult to make their mark. She started out as a young journalist before abruptly becoming the most sought-after fashion face, appearing in innumerable advertising campaigns and quickly becoming a worldwide style icon. But it was precisely this achievement that made Isabella re-evaluate her modeling philosophy. At first, she had written it off as a pointless career that needed little intelligence. However, she became aware that she had made the error when she entered the field. She acknowledged in an interview that there are just those who misinterpret a job. There is no such thing as a foolish job. Over time, she realized that modeling involved more than just dressing stylishly. It was about artistic skill, inventiveness, and the capacity to express feelings through visuals. Isabella's perspective on her job was radically changed by working with renowned photographers like Richard Avedon, who made her feel as though she was traveling inside the heads of geniuses and that every picture was a true work of art rather than just a lovely moment. She completely embraced it rather than seeing it as a transient position, transforming herself into a genuine fashion industry icon. And a new chapter in her life began at that very moment. One that had the demanding trials that accompanied the fame in addition to its glory. Isabella Rossellini became a worldwide sensation after taking an unexpected turn into the fashion industry. She did more than just survive in a field where ephemeral trends are continuously redefining beauty, she ruled, attaining heights that are impossible for many models to achieve. Isabella swiftly rose to prominence as one of the top supermodels in the world by the early 1980s. She was one of the most paid models in the world in 1983, when Time magazine reported that she was making $9,000 a day, an incredible amount at the time. Given that she had never actively pursued a profession in modeling and had never planned to become one, this was all the more amazing. She went from disliking the industry to becoming the most sought-after face in luxury branding, which is evidence of her unique and irresistible charm. Isabella's career, however, went well beyond the catwalk. She became the official global ambassador of the renowned French cosmetics company Lancôme after signing a contract with them in 1982. This was no ordinary endorsement agreement. With Isabella's presence, Lancôme's gained international recognition and became a representation of elegance and charm. Isabella was the face of Lancôme for 14 years, in contrast to many models who only appear in advertisements for a short time. A record-breaking period in the beauty industry, from 1982 to 1996. Isabella's intelligence and elegance were just as much a part of her attractiveness as her remarkable looks and natural grace. Because of this, she was the ideal representation of Lancôme, a company that stood for elegance and sophistication. Her visage appeared on every high-end beauty shop, prominent magazine, and significant campaign worldwide for more than 10 years. But Isabella suffered an unimaginable trauma in 1996 when she was 44 years old. There was just one reason why Lancôme chose to dump her. She was too old. She was the face of a luxury company all over the world, and then she was thrown out without a second thought. Just because of the number on her birth certificate, not because she was less attractive or no longer appealing. At the time, a woman's career was considered to be coming to an end when she turned 40 in the beauty industry. They intended to use a younger model in her place. Someone who met the strict industry norm at the time that young was crucial. Isabella's job was not the only thing affected by this choice. It caused a severe crisis of identity. She had never intended to become a model, but after working in the field for years, it had come to define her. She was now being eliminated because the industry had decided that women over 40 were useless, not because she lacked talent or attractiveness. "I wasn't let go because I wasn't beautiful anymore," she previously stated in an interview. "Because they felt that women over 40 were useless in this field, I was fired." Isabella, however, made the decision to reject this idea rather than crumble. She kept working in a variety of professions, including acting and her own creative endeavors. Even if she was no longer Lancôme's face, she endured as a timeless representation of elegance and beauty. Then, something that no one could have anticipated occurred. Isabella was asked to return as Lancôme's brand ambassador in 2016 at the age of 63, precisely 20 years after she had been fired. This was a direct challenge to the antiquated ageist norms that had previously controlled the beauty business, not just a personal triumph. The very company that had previously rejected her because of her age, Lancôme, was now compelled to face an essential reality. Beauty never goes out of style. Fashion and cosmetics history underwent a sea change with her reappearance. It demonstrated that a woman's value does not decrease with age. This time, Isabella represented confidence and beauty free from antiquated norms rather than young brilliance. "I'm not here to represent beauty anymore," she added in reference to her return. "Something else is what I'm here to represent. A dream of happiness, of a happy life, of accepting each stage of aging." Isabella Rossellini's journey is more than just a tale of success. It is a tale of a trailblazer who redefined the beauty industry after being rejected as a model because she was too old. It is a tale of rebellion and dismantling the constraints society has placed on women for a long time. After rising to prominence as a supermodel, Isabella Rossellini had to make a significant career decision. Should she pursue a career in acting? Acting had never seemed like a clear career choice for her, even though she inherited the creative lineage of her parents, famed filmmaker Roberto Rossellini and film queen Ingrid Bergman. The tremendous legacy of her family name terrified her as much as it interested her. Isabella was reluctant to pursue a career in film because of the overwhelming influence of her mother, 3 award-winning actress Ingrid Bergman. She adopted a careful strategy instead of jumping straight into Hollywood, trying out small-scale film projects in Italy and primarily collaborating with friends rather than appearing in big-budget productions. She was unsure when David Letterman once asked if she was prepared to face Hollywood. She was aware of her fascination, but she also realized that entering the movie business would unavoidably result in incessant comparisons to her mother. But when Isabella agreed to play Dorothy Valens in David Lynch's Blue Velvet in 1986, all of that hesitancy ended. It was a daring step. Blue Velvet was more than just a movie about intricate psychology. It also featured graphic violence and nudity scenes. Isabella was never originally intended for this position. After Helen Mirren declined the role that director David Lynch had first offered her, Isabella was given the chance. In addition to her captivating beauty, Lynch picked her because of the mysterious atmosphere she exuded and the unadulterated passion of her performance. However, making Blue Velvet was not a simple task. Isabella portrayed Dorothy Valens, a nightclub singer who was stuck in a violent and poisonous relationship with Dennis Hopper's character, a nasty man. Sexual violence, a very delicate topic at the time, was depicted in the film in unpleasant ways. Blue Velvet was one of the most contentious movies of 1986 when it was first released. While some critics praised it as a masterpiece of film, others denounced it as exploitative and detrimental to the actor's psychological well-being. In his review, renowned reviewer Roger Ebert, who rarely voiced outright disapproval of movies, was especially critical, saying that the picture made him feel both pity for the actors and resentment toward the filmmaker. Ebert thought that, especially in its upsetting naked sequences, Blue Velvet had taken advantage of Isabella Rossellini. Isabella, however, had the exact opposite reaction. She never experienced mistreatment or coercion, unlike what Ebert believed. She firmly declared, "I am an adult," in response to a question about it. In addition to dismissing Bert's worries, her reaction reaffirmed that she had consciously chosen this role and knew exactly what she was doing. "No one can take advantage of me." Blue Velvet was not an exploitative movie in Isabella's opinion. It was a daring work of art that ventured into the most sinister recesses of human nature. But Isabella was also impacted in real life by the controversies surrounding the movie. She later disclosed that many people had weird reactions to her after it was released, with some even avoiding her in public as though she were the actual Dorothy Valens, who was broken and tormented. Isabella Rossellini's career was irrevocably changed by Blue Velvet, regardless of the criticism. Critics praised the movie, calling it one of the best films of the 1980s, obtaining several noteworthy honors. Dennis Hopper was awarded Best Picture and Best Supporting Actor at the 1986 Los Angeles Film Critics Association Awards, LAFCA. David Lynch received Best Director at the 1986 NYFCC, New York Film Critics Circle Awards. David Lynch was nominated for Best Director at the 1987 Academy Awards, 1987 Golden Globe Awards. Dennis Hopper was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Dennis Hopper was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role at the 1988 BAFTA Awards. Even though Isabella Rossellini didn't win any specific honors for her work, Blue Velvet changed her reputation as a supermodel and made her a serious actress, which led to new opportunities in the film industry. It was more than just a career turning point for her to be in Blue Velvet. It completely changed who she was. As an actress who was not scared to take chances, defy expectations, and stick by her decisions regardless of how the public reacted to them, she came to represent bold artistic expression. Prior to this, she was mostly recognized as a supermodel with classic beauty and a fashion icon. However, she was now a pioneer in the controversial avant-garde film industry, completely ready to accept praise and criticism. Furthermore, Isabella Rossellini's film career was only getting started. She continued to take on more difficult parts after Blue Velvet, demonstrating that she was much more than just a gorgeous magazine cover star. She had depth and a remarkable boldness that are uncommon in the field, making her a true artist. While many of her peers found it difficult to continue their careers in a field that was notoriously insensitive to older women, Isabella Rossellini made a decision at the age of 50 that shocked the entire world. She left the bright lights of Hollywood and the film behind to follow her lifelong passion, which she had loved since she was a young child, studying animals. Isabella had always had a strong love for the natural environment, even though she was known for having one of the most beautiful faces in the world. She had always been enthralled with animals, especially ethology, the study of how animals interact, act, and thrive in their natural environments. But because of her remarkable looks, fate had led her into the fashion and movie industries. Her renown had come from her beauty, but it had also taken her away from her initial goals. Acting roles had become increasingly limited by the time she turned 50. And older actresses were not very popular in Hollywood. Isabella had the opportunity to consider what was most important to her during this break in her career. She enrolled at Hunter College in New York to obtain a master's degree in animal behavior because she was determined to return to academics. This wasn't a quick course for famous people. It was an academically demanding program. After completing rigorous coursework, research, and scientific projects, she eventually earned a master's degree at the age of 67. That moment was worth more to her than any movie prize or beauty title she had ever won. Isabella, however, did not merely rely on theory. She was committed to making a significant contribution with her scientific understanding. She bought a large farm in Brookhaven, Long Island, New York, in 2013, and she called it Mama Farm. In addition to being her home, this was a conservation and education initiative that taught adults and kids about ecosystems, how to take care of animals, and the close relationship between people and the natural world. She knew she wanted to live her entire life there the instant she stepped foot on that property. Mama Farm swiftly transformed into a non-profit educational facility that provides courses on eco-friendly farming practices, animal conservation, and sustainable farming. Isabella personally took care of the sheep, goats, chickens, and other animals as part of the farm's regular tasks. Many were shocked to see Isabella Rossellini, the supermodel who adorned Vogue covers and was once Lancôme's muse, wearing labor clothes and holding a lamb with her hands coated in mud. However, this was pure bliss for her. Her goal went beyond environmental preservation. She aimed to increase public interest in and accessibility to scientific knowledge. In order to illustrate the reproductive patterns of diverse animals, Isabella used her creative instincts to write, film, and produce a short documentary series called Green Porno. This unusual fusion of art and science was quite instructive as well as funny. At one point, she said, "Why not teach audiences about the mating habits of a praying mantis while making them laugh?" Sex and Consequences, another series that explored the biological aspects of animal life, was the next step in Isabella Rossellini's creative investigation after the success of Green Porno. These endeavors demonstrated that she had never ceased pushing the envelope and reinventing herself, in addition to giving her the chance to share her love of ethology with the world. The journey of Isabella Rossellini is unique. She has never let anybody else determine her value, whether she is a scientist, animal conservationist, or a well-known supermodel and Hollywood actor. She didn't clutch hopelessly to a dwindling career when she was rejected by the film and beauty sectors due to her age. Rather, she bravely took a completely different route. One that was in line with her actual interests. "I've worked as an actress, a supermodel, and now a farmer. Unconstrained by any description, I am who I am." This was not merely one individual's statement. It conveyed a strong message about pursuing one's passion despite social constraints and age. Isabella Rossellini has methodically disregarded all of the expectations that were put on her. Become a genuine representation of independence and tenacity in the face of discrimination based on age, fame, or beauty standards. Isabella Rossellini found herself entering the elite inner sphere of Hollywood after making a name for herself in the media and fashion industries. A crucial encounter occurred in 1978 as a result of her job with RAI, Italy's national television network. A conversation with Martin Scorsese, the celebrated filmmaker. Rossellini instantly drew Scorsese's eye with her sophisticated yet alluring presence while he was promoting his concert documentary, The Last Waltz. There was more to that interview than just a conversation about movies. A passionate romance was just getting started. Although Rossellini later acknowledged that she hadn't seen The Last Waltz before to the interview, Scorsese made an impromptu recommendation with his trademark cinematic zeal. "So why don't we all watch it together this evening?" Before Isabella realized it, she had entered a completely different world where conversations about John Ford, distinctive camera moves, and in-depth film analysis had become an integral part of her life. What had begun as a formal discourse quickly turned into a movie screening. Rossellini subsequently said, "I think he liked me." Their romance developed rapidly. And they were married in 1979, a year later. While Scorsese was already married for the third time, Rossellini was married for the first time. Isabella was only 25 years old at the time, and Scorsese was already one of Hollywood's most influential directors. Not only did being married to a well-known filmmaker change her personal life, but it also had a big effect on her profession. Following their nuptials, Rossellini's reputation became even more well-known, landing her high-profile modeling jobs, including a cover appearance in Vogue. However, Scorsese apparently felt sad about it rather than proud. Even though they had intense moments together, there were still problems in their marriage. In addition to being a master of film, Scorsese had a troubled personal life, was devoted to his job, and was not recognized for being faithful. Rossellini, meantime, found it difficult to establish herself in the shadow of such a powerful person. Although their disagreements grew more pronounced, Rossellini's mother Ingrid Bergman's fatal cancer diagnosis in 1982 marked the tipping point. Rossellini experienced the most devastating heartbreak of her life in the final days of her mother's life. Grief can sometimes bring two individuals closer together, but it can also drive them apart, she later told Sun Sentinel. "Together, you can persevere if you're strong and resilient. However, it can drive you apart if you're not, and I wasn't." Rossellini believed that Scorsese could not provide her with the emotional assistance she required during this period. She panicked when faced with loss and uncertainty in her marriage and came to the conclusion that they could no longer continue their relationship. They secretly got divorced in 1982. Rossellini viewed the marriage as a significant period in her life even if it ended in misery. "Marty and I had a great marriage," she subsequently told The Guardian. "Perhaps we could have remained together if I had been older, wiser, and more composed." Years later, though, Scorsese made a revelation that altered her perspective of their relationship. Long after their divorce, Scorsese surprisingly acknowledged in a conversation that Isabella's status as Roberto Rossellini's daughter was a major factor in his first attraction to her. Isabella was taken aback by this. A colder, more disturbing reality suddenly overshadowed everything she had thought about their marriage, the love, the bond, and the memories. Was she always merely a continuation of her father's legacy, or had she ever really been Isabella Rossellini in Scorsese's eyes? Following her separation from Martin Scorsese, Isabella Rossellini's personal life swiftly descended into chaos. She wasn't betrayed this time, though. It was she who sparked the controversy. Rossellini had started an affair with Jan Viedema before the formal completion of her marriage to Scorsese, a good-looking model at New York University studying cinema. Her daughter, Elettra Rossellini Vedeman, was born as a result of their romance. This event evoked criticism and controversy because it uncannily mirrored the notorious past of her own mother, Ingrid Bergman. The odd resemblance between the two generations was too obvious for many to ignore. Ingrid Bergman had been severely criticized, even censured in the U.S. Congress, years before for getting pregnant with filmmaker Roberto Rossellini without being married. Isabella had mild criticism from the fashion and film industries, but not the same level of outrage as her mother. Moral provisions in her lengthy Lancôme contract might be in danger if she didn't manage the matter correctly. Isabella decided to make a deliberate move to escape more attention. Wiedemann was her spouse. Her divorce from Scorsese was completed that following day. She made the quick, nearly transactional decision to go to Santo Domingo, sign her divorce papers, and enter into her second marriage in less than half an hour. Isabella, however, never considered marriage to be a holy institution. To me, marriage is not a relationship, it's just paperwork, like a passport or a visa, she subsequently told the Los Angeles Times. I answered, so what, when others were upset that I had a child without getting married? I no longer respect marriage because of the hypocrite Catholics in Italy, not because of my family. The marriage between Rossellini and Wiedemann had been unstable from the beginning, even if it lasted only 3 years, from 1983 to 1986. Wiedemann had a spirit of adventure. He enjoyed living a free-spirited life, sailing, and mountaineering. Isabella had never experienced any of these things before. John seemed so calm, serene, balanced, healthy, and joyful, she recounted in an interview with the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. His enjoyment of sailing rivers, climbing mountains, and doing other activities that had always captivated me but that I had never done before drew me in. However, as time went on, their disparities grew more noticeable. While Isabella continued to pursue her acting career, Wiedemann, who eventually rose to the position of executive at Microsoft, progressively separated himself from the entertainment industry. Although they were legally married until 1986, they split up less than a year after getting married. Isabella's distrust of the institution was only strengthened by this marriage. Europeans don't marry, they live together, she said simply in a different interview with the Los Angeles Times. Marriage and divorce are common in America. I never imagined getting married. Actually, I only got married to Americans because they were the ones who asked me to marry them. They asked me to marry them after just 2 weeks of dating. Although Rossellini's second marriage ended amicably, there were still a lot of unanswered questions about her romantic life. Mikhail Baryshnikov, the renowned ballet dancer and her co-star in White Nights, 1985, was intimately associated with her shortly after her divorce. The Washington Post and the South Florida Sun-Sentinel were among the media sources who conjectured that Rossellini's breakup with Wiedemann was actually due to her engagement with Baryshnikov. The media kept spreading the rumors even after they were denied time and time again. I feel embarrassed having to say I didn't have an affair because somehow it makes it sound untrue, she previously told the Sentinel. Although we were merely close friends, I wish I had a more dramatic or scandalous narrative. Nevertheless, she was unable to resist Baryshnikov's allure. Take a peek at him. In addition to being charming and attractive, he is also exceptionally brilliant. One thing was certain, regardless of whether she and Baryshnikov were truly in love. After her second marriage, Isabella Rossellini felt more confident about herself. Her existence was no longer defined by a man. Following 2 short marriages, she transitioned into a new stage in which she was completely independent of others and in charge of her own fate. Although she had vowed not to be married, this did not mean that she had no meaningful relationships in her life. One of the most memorable of these was with none other than David Lynch, the most eccentric filmmaker in Hollywood. On the set of Blue Velvet, 1986, Isabella Rossellini and David Lynch's affair started when she played Dorothy Valens, a nightclub singer caught in an abusive relationship. This character was daring and provocative, solidifying her image as a serious actor. The role was originally intended for Helen Mirren, but Lynch ended up going with Rossellini, and it appeared that this choice went beyond work. Lynch was still married to his second wife, Mary Fisk, at the time, but their connection became passionate during the filming process. Lynch's marriage swiftly fell apart as a result of their affair. Devastated by the betrayal, Fisk later wrote a painfully detailed account of the tragedy. "I went around like a lost person, bleeding from every pore, my heart genuinely broken." Lynch and Rossellini formally became a pair following the divorce, beginning a 5-year relationship that was both passionate and difficult. Rossellini loved him very much, but she never thought Lynch would leave her so brutally. One day, without any explanation, he just vanished from her life. She contacted her ex-husband Martin Scorsese in shock, searching for some kind of validation. But she was even more shocked by his reaction. "I was aware of this a few weeks prior. You were kissed by David in front of the photographers. It's clear that he's hiding something if, after 5 years of dating, this is the first time he publicly displays his affection," and Scorsese was correct. Lynch had cheated on Rossellini in the same way that their relationship had started. Lynch had fallen in love with Mary Sweeney, a film editor who worked with Rossellini, while he was still with him. Rossellini was distraught when Lynch married Sweeney shortly after their romance produced a child. She described the loss in her 1997 memoir, Some of Me. "I was devastated and even shocked by how unhappy I was." Nevertheless, Rossellini's wounds appeared to heal with time. She never harbored hatred after being abandoned in the most cruel manner. She attended the 2019 Honorary Academy Awards ceremony in Lynch's honor and publicly wished him a happy birthday on Instagram in 2021. After everything, they appear to have re-established their connection as mutual fans rather than lovers. Lynch is still one of her greatest loves, despite the fact that he crushed her heart. Isabella Rossellini went into another passionate romance after she was hurt by David Lynch's lack of explanation. This time with Gary Oldman, a man of tremendous chaos and compelling charm. Oldman's anguish was quite different from Lynch's if he had left in silence. He left her for a lady he met while he was in treatment. Their romance wasn't merely ended suddenly. It ended in the most degrading manner imaginable. While receiving addiction treatment, her fiancé met another partner. Oldman played Ludwig van Beethoven, and Rossellini played one of his lovers. The two met in 1994 while filming on the movie Immortal Beloved. Their on-screen chemistry swiftly evolved into a real-life romance amid the romantic ambience of the set and the passion of the film. They were discussing marriage within weeks of dating. Their relationship progressed quickly, and soon they were living together and engaged. It appeared to Rossellini to be the start of an exciting new era. In actuality, it was the beginning of a difficult and sinister one. Rossellini had known from the start that Oldman was not a simple man. His violent, explosive on-screen roles made him renowned. He also had the same issues in real life, especially his struggle with alcoholism. When Oldman was at his worst, he went on 4-day straight, alcohol-fueled binges, accruing hotel bills that would have paid for a year's mortgage. However, he seemed to be improving while he was with Rossellini. She thought she could help him get over his problems for a while. But reality was much harsher. Someone who wasn't ready to be saved couldn't be saved by love alone. Oldman kept getting more and more addicted during their relationship. He once drank so much that he was so tired that his tongue became black. Rossellini handed him an ultimatum because he could take it no more. "We'll break up if you don't go to rehab." Oldman concurred. However, he met Donia Fiorentino while in treatment and fell in love with her right away. Upon finishing the program, he chose to terminate things silently rather than going back to Rossellini to carry out their intended marriage. This was more than simply a split for Rossellini, it was a humiliation. She had trusted him, supported him during his hardships, and then abandoned him for someone he met in the same location where she had sent him to get better. She often sidestepped the subject of her relationship with Oldman when questioned about it later, merely providing a brief reply. It didn't last long. Even though Rossellini was so cruelly abandoned, she never felt bitter. She remained friendly with nearly all of her ex-boyfriends, such as Martin Scorsese, David Lynch, and Jonathan Weidman. She frequently expressed her respect for the intelligent and forward-thinking individuals who had captured her attention. She said nothing, however, about Old Man. This period of her life seemed like a wound too deep to be healed. Isabella Rossellini enjoys a more subdued life as she enters her 70s after decades in the spotlight, but she has never really separated herself from her loves or art. At the age of 73, she oversees Mama Farm, a sustainable farm in New York that she established in 2013 as a resource for organic food as well as an educational facility for environmental and animal protection. Rossellini's attitude is embodied by Mama Farm, which combines creativity, nature, and worthwhile endeavors. Rossellini treasures her role as a grandma in addition to her work on the farm. Elettra Wiedmann, her daughter, quit modeling to work in the culinary arts and farm management. She eventually got married and had 2 sons, Vigo River, 2021, and Ronan Hendrik, 2018. Rossellini may not have completely realized it during the hectic years of her past, but she now finds a calm satisfaction in seeing the next generation bloom. But family and farming are not the only things that characterize her existence. Rossellini continues to perform, demonstrating that artistic ability is not limited by age. She starred in Alice Rohrwacher's stirring film La Cimera in 2023, which delves into the world of Italian artifact seekers. Widespread applause for the movie confirmed Rossellini's flexibility as an actress. With a multi-decade career, Isabella Rossellini is much more than just a model or actress. She represents the nexus of feminism, science, and the arts. She chose to establish her own independent career, refusing to live under the shadow of her parents' celebrity, despite inheriting their cinematic legacy as the daughter of Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini. Rossellini has consistently changed what it means to be an artist, from acting as Lancôme's longest-standing ambassador to pursuing daring and unorthodox cinema roles. Even at 73, she continues to create. She still performs, writes, and works in natural science, spearheading initiatives like Green Porno, a comedy and scientifically informed educational series that examines animal sexuality. She has also been a trailblazer in the fight against age discrimination in the fashion business, having changed the industry's definition of beauty when she returned to the role of ambassador for Lancôme at the age of 63. Rossellini is a living example of how creativity is unaffected by aging. If anything, it enhances and deepens it, adding to its significance. She will make an appearance in Conclave in 2024. Captivating political religious drama concerning the appointment of a new pope after a sudden death. In the movie, Rossellini portrays Sister Agnes, a quiet but powerful character whose few words have a big impact. Her keen, mysterious on-screen persona is once again on display in this role, enthralling viewers each time she makes an appearance. Isabella Rossellini has never really slowed down, not even in her 70s. She still makes movies, motivates younger people, and lives her life with the same unbridled passion that has always made her unique. She continues to write her own tale, one chapter at a time, as a supermodel, actor, director, scientist, activist, and now a loving grandma. A lady who has never followed social norms is an Isabella Rossellini. She has continuously defied conventions and broken expectations, from a little child with an incredible cinematic history to a top supermodel, from an actress without fear to a scientist fascinated by nature. She never let age, celebrity, or beauty stand in her way. They were only parts of her lifelong quest for self-awareness. She never faltered in the face of failed marriages, personal losses, and career changes. Isabella, who is currently in her 70s, is still devoted to her hobbies, including acting, running Mama Farm, and enjoying the blessings of being a grandma. In addition to surviving the highs and lows, she has completely changed who she is in ways that no one could have foreseen. Her legacy is found in her spirit of freedom and the encouragement she has provided to women who dare to push boundaries, not simply in movies or magazine covers. Isabella's renowned beauty and memorable performances are maybe not what people remember most about her, rather, it's her bold, brazen, and forward-thinking lifestyle. Has her narrative altered your perception of creativity, aging, and the ability of women to take control of their own lives? Continue following Isabella Rossellini's path if you respect a woman who lives passionately, reinvents herself often, and refuses to let anybody else define her. Whether at Mama Farm, in the scientific community, or on the big screen, she never stops telling her narrative with unyielding fortitude and boundless imagination. To read more motivational tales of celebrities who have surmounted every obstacle to establish their legacy, please like and subscribe to our channel. Watch this space for our upcoming feature.